Today's lesson is 7.G.6. We'll start talking about angles, classifying angles. Okay. First, we need to review the vocabulary. Okay. You're familiar with angles. You've heard of acute angles. You've heard of right angles. And you've heard of obtuse angles. Well, what are acute angles? Acute angles measure less than 90 degrees. Right angles measure exactly 90 degrees. And obtuse angles measure greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. And there's one more angle I neglected to mention, and that's a straight angle. Straight angles measure exactly 180 degrees. So if you need graphics or pictures of an acute angle, looks a little something like this. The base is 180 degrees, but this angle here is like a folded back. It measures less than 90. A right angle has an erect back, and the base is still 180. You can see the right angle here. Obtuse, that back is leaning. Think about somebody sitting in a recliner. Your legs or your thighs are 180 degrees, and the back portion leaning back is more than 90 but less than 180. And of course, a straight angle goes straight across, and that's 180 degrees. So that's some review vocabulary. Let's go over the new vocabulary here. Vertical angles. Vertical angles sit across from each other. They also have equal value. So if I drew some angles, there's a vertex, that's the common point. If I put an A and a B here, A and B sit across from each other. So A equals B. Just simply means that this A was replaced with a number. Whatever sits across from A or B is equivalent to A or B, because vertical angles have equal value. Next term. Supplementary angles. Okay? Supplementary angles are angles that are side by side. We also call these adjacent angles. Okay? If I give you something like this, and I put A and B, A and B are side-by-side angles. So A plus B has to be 180 degrees, because side-by-side angles measure to 180 degrees. Okay? So say if A was 95 degrees, how would I find B? I'd do 180 minus 95, because both of them together have a sum of 180. So finding the other is the same as finding the difference, and you should get 85 degrees. So B would have to be 85 degrees. And if I use inverse operations and work backwards using addition, I should get 180 degrees if I add them together. So two very important vocabulary terms. Make sure if you need to pause it or stop it to copy this, you do so, because I'm not finished. Okay? I think it's important to explore vocabulary. Okay? Complementary. That should be 3. Complementary angles. Complementary angles have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay? If I do this, as you can see, a transversal has cut this angle off and split this 90-degree angle into 2 separate pieces. If I gave this one A and this one B, we know that A plus B is equal to 90 degrees. And I know this because there makes a right angle. Okay? If I told you this one was 43 degrees, you had to find B. We know that 43 degrees plus B is equal to 90 degrees. So 90 minus 43 is that algebra again. Have to be 47 degrees. So B would have to be 47 degrees. So the sum of these angles to get 90 have to add up to 90 degrees. And if I use the inverse operation and add the angles together, I should get what I began with, which was 90. One more word. It's transversal. Okay? And a transversal is a line that intersects an angle. Okay? And that's all it is. So I think it's important that we explore vocabulary first before we actually look at the skill. All right, let's look at B. B is finding the complement. Complement is the same as complementary. So if we're finding the complement, we're finding the missing angle from 2 angles that have a sum of 90. So if I drew this, call that one A. I drew this one. Transversal coming up there. Put some letters, like the name angles. Put some letters on them and some endpoints. Okay, this is called the vertex because this is where they share a common point. Okay. Now, let's put some variables in between. Put L here, M here, N, O, P. Now, you need to first identify these angles, or what kind they are. Okay? Look at the shape of it. Look at the way it's structured. Looks like a right angle, so I know that it has to have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay? If I give you one of these, you ought to be able to find the missing one. So I'm going to tell you what L is over here. L is equal to 37 degrees. Well, I know since I'm finding the complement, that means 90 degrees. So I'll plug 37 degrees in for L. I don't know M, so M's going to come down. But I know both have a sum of 90 degrees. I'll use what I know about inverse operations. Since this 37 degrees is positive, the inverse is negative. I'm going to subtract 37 degrees from both sides of the equal sign. Take the signs with the constant. Bring down the variable. You're left with 90 minus 37, or 57 degrees. So M has to be 57 degrees for this to be a complementary angle. Well, let's check it with addition. If I take 57 degrees and add it to 37 degrees, excuse me, this should be 53 degrees. Got ahead of myself. And I added 53 degrees plus 57 degrees. I should get 90 degrees. And I do. Okay? Looking over here, I should see two sets of complementary angles. Angle DFE is complementary. It forms a right angle. And angle EFH forms a right angle. Well, I've got some variables there. And wherever I see a variable, I know it's an unknown number. Okay? N, there's nothing else around it. So I know this angle, N, has to be 90 degrees. It's not split. Okay? Well, over here, this 90-degree angle, EFH, is split into two smaller angles, angle EFG and angle GFH. Okay? If I tell you that O is 18 degrees, could you find P? Well, sure I could. I know that O plus P equals 90 degrees. It gives me O, so substitute. P has to be the difference of 90 degrees and 18. So I'll use my inverse operation of a positive number, which is negative, and subtract from both sides of the equal sign. Take the signs with the constant. Bring the variable down. 90 minus 18 is 72 degrees. I use inverse operation to check my math. So 72 degrees plus 18, which is what I started with, should give me 90 degrees. And it does. And that's how we find the complement. Okay? And of course, you should be copying these examples down in your notebook. It may not be in step-by-step form yet, but you ought to be able to practice with it and put it in step-by-step form. But I'll try to put this one in step-by-step form for you. Let's talk about finding the supplement. Okay? Well, if complement means 90, supplement has to mean 180 degrees. Same scenario. I give you these angles. I like to give them a name. Okay. Make them kind of wacky. Because you'll see angles of many ways. Let's call this one L and this one N. Okay, I'll say this one is P, Q, and R. Notice my variables are cursive, and when I name my lines, I use capital print. You want to do that so you won't get mixed up. It's easier to tell which are variables and which are naming the angle. Okay? Alright, I see quite a bit of things in here. Okay? I know that I need, and I'm going to take this out purposely, just to begin. And I'll add it to it later. Okay.